It's time for the Onyx News. Extraterrestrials, time anomalies, dimensions, remote viewing, UFOs, UAPs, and USOs, ghostly encounters, abductions, Bigfoot, and more. Your end of the week news source for everything unexplained. Here is your host for the Onyx News Podcast, Margie K.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Onyx News. I'm your host, Margie K., and this is a special report this evening. And my co-host tonight, of course, is the infamous Race Hobbs.
I didn't do it.
Yes, you did. I'm sure you did, whatever it was.
Nobody saw me do it. I didn't. You can't prove anything.
Are you spraying your spray from Michelle Roos? Like what I've got.
This stuff is from Marilyn Salas.
Oh yes. Hers is very high energy too.
Remember when you interviewed her? Such a wonderful lady.
Oh yes.
She was very nice enough to send me. I was out of Michelle's stuff about 3 weeks after I got back from the conference, and I had to have her send me some more.
You were overusing it. I only use it if I feel Mothman around or something negative.
I'm a big advocate of scent. I just love it because it helps with my creativity and with my mood. I combined it with music, and it gets me in the zone when I'm working and when I'm being creative and all of that. So I use it quite a bit.
Well, there's something to be said for aromatherapy, that's for sure.
For sure. It's good to be here, Margie. It's good to see you. I know you had to fight that old stinky COVID again. And
I don't even want to talk about it.
You did. You did it, though.
Bad news, and, of course, on vacation. But in Canada, when you go for healthcare, your insurance from the U.S. doesn't work there. So that was interesting. But
hey, Fred, she's definitely got something up her sleeve. She brings me into the fold. She's up to something, Fred.
Yeah, Fred will be making comments this evening. I know that. Well, thanks for joining me tonight, Race. We're going to be talking about XCon tonight, and we've got some of the speakers are joining us this evening. So, of course, we're going to get into everything that's going to be happening at XCon. So everybody stay with us and join us in the chat if you want to. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and just go in the chat. So let's go ahead and get started with Linda Eastburn. How are you doing, Linda?
Doing well tonight. Thank you.
Glad you could join us. Of course, you're going to be speaking at XCon. So can you give us a little synopsis of your subject?
Sure, yeah. I'm going to be talking about the connection between Bigfoot, aliens, and ghosts. Before I started doing a lot of Bigfoot interviews not quite 2 years ago. I was a UFO researcher from the early 90s on, and some paranormal stuff too. And so I decided to put a talk together about how those three seem to be interrelated and connected. There are a lot of crossovers between the events that happen when people have encounters with them. So that's my basis of my talk. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about different locations that have these phenomenal things that happen, both with these entities, but also other things that happen at these sites. And I have a special one that I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to tell you all about it, but it's one that I've been researching for a while. I'm calling it Case 841. It's about a 10-mile radius with just everything underneath the sun happening in that location.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'll be looking forward to hearing about that.
Yeah.
Linda, how did you get started in paranormal?
It was back in the early 90s. There was a flap of UFO activity that came over my area where I live. And that pulled me into the MUFON group, the local meeting group. And I was working as a hypnotist at that time. So I started doing regressions with abductees. And that was just an eye opener, just that people were having these phenomenal experiences that I didn't fully understand. But that took me into the research field, and I started a group called the Midwest Research Society, which met monthly. I put on 3 conferences. Then I had radio show and a TV show regarding paranormal and UFOs. Now, it was only about 1.5 years ago that I got involved with the Bigfoot, and that was all kind of by accident. I happened to interview Scott Nelson, who's going to be your keynote speaker at the conference, actually. But it just soared. I mean, his information is so good. He was the linguist that interpreted the Sierra sounds from Ron Moorhead. So yeah, that's where I got involved with the Bigfoot stuff.
Awesome. We're going to go ahead and bring Tyler in now. And so hang with us, Linda. Welcome, Tyler. We're doing the same thing. Race and I are both producing the show. So, okay, I'll leave it to you, Race. Sorry about that. Hi, okay. Tyler.
Hey, how's it going? How's it going?
Hey, Tyler.
How you guys doing? Hey, Race, how's it going?
It's good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. You too. Happy to be here.
Well, you are speaking at XCon, of course. So would you give us a brief synopsis of what you're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so I'm taking on a very ambitious task and trying to explain the history of the secret space program in 1 hour, which is impossible, by the way. But I'm going to give you the bullet points, and I'm bringing a lot to the table that I've researched over the years that isn't commonly talked about, and it really ties it all together beautifully. We're going to get into some of the companies involved, where it's hiding within the government, some of the lesser known details from some like declassified journals, even and diary entries and documents that have just come forward over the years, and certain people talking, whistleblower testimonies. And this, it starts in the 1800s. And people don't understand that. There's been a shadow government presence in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and primarily Germany was ahead of the curve in a lot of this stuff. And we've heard about the Vril Damen and channeling the UFO blueprints and building the Hanabu, the UFO, the German flying saucer. And I'm going to get into some of the lesser known details about that have been released by Sean David Morton. He was approached by a man who spent 40 years in a shadow government, and he gave him a stack of documents that he can't disclose himself due to NDAs, but he gave it to Sean, and Sean released it in a 7-book series, The Sands of Time, and he released it as a sci-fi series, but it's not a sci. If you read the intro, it tells you straight up what happened, how he got the information, and how he literally had to publish it as science fiction. But within those books contain some of the most impressive information I've ever read on the history of ufology, the secret space program, and primarily time travel, which is the big secret. And they even talk about in the books, and this information talks about the whole disinformation project, which was essentially done to steer people, look here, not there, like sleight of hand. And what they ultimately concluded was that they would bring a low-level scientist in the Area 51 and show him a craft and allow him to talk about it. And that guy was Bob Lazar. So he was essentially being used, even though he was sharing real information. They had an ulterior motive, and that was, I see Race holding his finger up. Is that?
I was pointing at Bob Lazar's UFO sketch right there.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah. So, and that was time travel. So they were working on with the Philadelphia experiment was our version of experimenting with time travel. The Nazi bell is something completely different, but they were trying to keep that under wraps. And what better way to do that is to let this man come in and leak all this information out about the sports model UFO, right? And so they had everyone talking about that. And okay, good. They're not even thinking about time travel right now, but even the sports model itself, if it's described in detail on how it works, and you're technically time traveling, it warps space and time as it moves. In their early experiments, they would be gone for like what they thought was 1 hour, but they were gone for like an entire day. and people thought they were missing on base. They didn't know what happened to the people, and there was weird time anomalies until they figured out how to use it right and control it. But that's one of the big reasons why we can't actually release this information, why they don't want to release the information publicly, because it's not really that we're not talking about advanced propulsion and zero gravity and all this free energy technology. I mean, we are, but essentially we're talking about warping space and time travel. And if we were to ever the thing about these early experiments is they were detrimental to our reality. They were literally tearing holes in the space-time continuum, dimensional tears. And this was the reason for a lot of the early UFO flaps. They were actually coming through these dimensional tears. And like the HARP facility was actually, if you read in these documents, the original reason for HARP wasn't weather manipulation. They were trying to create a frequency net around the planet to seal up these holes, because they were trying to stop what they would call like temporal invaders and coming through. So these dimensional tears. So they were trying to create a frequency net, but as a side effect, as a result, an accidental side effect, they were realizing they could manipulate the weather with this stuff effectively, and they learned how to dial in on that. But they can't have people using this technology just haphazardly. Like, we can't just suddenly have access to UFOs and start tearing these holes and, not understanding the ramifications and the implications of what is actually being done when we're using this technology. So, there's good reasons for keeping it a secret. A lot of times, people say, there are no good reasons and we should just rip the Band-Aid off. That's just a debate. But that's like in a nutshell what I'm going to be talking about, but it's going to go a lot deeper and more involved. I skipped a lot of stuff, but I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about it.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing your talk. So I've got a question for both of you, and this is something that happened to me 2 nights ago. I went out on my deck, and we have a street light across the street, and it creates, that shines onto the deck. There was a shadow there of one of those, what I thought was a fake creature that something created, tall, creepy looking, all black with horns, kind of like deer horns, but it's real creepy looking. And I saw that, and I turned around real quick to look to see who was standing there with a costume on or something, and there was nothing there. And then I looked back at the wall, and the shadow was gone. So there is a portal at my house, and some weird things have come in and out of it that, some things I can't identify and some of them I can. But, and you too, Race, I want to know your thoughts on this. Was that a tear in space-time? Are there weird, creepy things that we didn't believe existed and they do in some other dimension and they're coming in? What is happening?
Well, I can give my 2 cents worth, but I think that you're absolutely right. I think there are so many things that travel through time that we don't even begin to understand, and we just get little flashes of those impressions. And I think probably you got an impression, a flash from something that was just traveling through time, and it comes and it goes. And I've often even wondered if Bigfoot is a time traveler, because it doesn't seem to fit in with what is real today, but it comes and goes. And I wonder if this was something from the past, even that we're just perceiving at periods of time, and it just pops back in our period of time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tyler, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You were going to say something.
I was just going to say it was an interesting point to me because, over the years, I've produced thousands of hours of talk radio. And then in some of the interviews that I produced with those guys out there at Skinwalker Ranch, and then what we've seen on the television show, I remember going way back before the show and the Skinwalker Ranch show was ever even, on the air, let alone a thought for some producer to create. I remember, I'm trying to recall, but I forget who did the show. It very well could have been on Phenomenon Radio, but they were interviewing one of the Blackwater security guys, and he talked about there being this massive dog, for lack of a better word, that was down in this bar ditch, and they had gone up looking for something else on that ridge line, and he recalled very clearly hearing the percussion from this thing's growl. I mean, he could feel it in his body, and it came up out of a bar ditch about 50 feet away from him and stood up on the side of that ditch, because it's all grown up and thick, out there where there's water, it's a thicket there. And he came out of that, and the thing was talking about it had paw tracks like this big, like the size of a basketball almost. And it trotted away around a corner, and then him and his partner took in chase. And as they came around the corner, it's just open field back there, and there was nothing there. It was gone. It was just like it came out of a portal in there and went into another one around the corner. There was just no way that he could math out how this thing disappeared
right
fast into just thin air.
Mm-hmm.
There was no caves, no cracks, no crevices, no overhangs, nowhere it could have gotten into to get out of sight from them that fast.
Right.
It's literally like coming out of a tunnel in a football stadium. And once you get out into the football stadium, you can see everything. There's nowhere to hide. You know what I mean? And,
Mm-hmm.
and to see that picture in my mind, your third eye is painting that picture when they're talking, and hearing the sincerity in his voice. It was real compelling. And then later on the TV show, they brought that very security guard forward with his testimony about what he had seen. And then they talked about it. He showed it right where it happened and everything. And and then there's thousands of these stories, not hundreds. There are thousands of them all over the place where Sasquatch tracks just end in the snow. Just they go, and then they just stop, and they end. They don't fade away. They just stop. And it makes you think that there's got to be some way where they can just cross that veil.
Yeah.
Whenever they're all set to do it somehow.
Yeah, I think they absolutely can. And to answer your question, Margie, you think like there's a dimensional tear or not, they're coming through the portal. I mean, it's probably all the above. And like what Linda said was perfect. I agree with her. But actually, I've been learning a lot about cryptids by listening to a few Illuminati whistleblowers, which you wouldn't expect to find information there. But the guys who come from there's one book, 334 Lies. It was written by the former top head chair of the Illuminati, and it's one of the most graphic books you'll ever read. I don't recommend it if you have a weak stomach, but he gets into details on the reality of the situation. And these people are actually black magicians. They're like everything you see in Harry Potter is real, and they're practicing magicians, but they're not using it for the light. They're using it for their own greed and power and money. And that's why we're in the mess that we're in, because they're controlling all the decisions that are made in the political arena, even on the global stage. So, but they very much, you would be surprised how cryptids and skinwalkers and vampires and werewolves come into the equation, how much they show up in these testimonies. These are not the things of myth and legends. These family members from these bloodlines literally talk about like getting to a certain point on their evolution and having to choose to go vampire or werewolf. And it's a part of like their initiation into these programs. That's why like this stuff and all this ancient history, it's not just coming from thin air. There's real vampirism, and it's very disturbing if you like, where I will spare you guys the details, what that actually means in the real world. And it's not good, but they talk about the cryptids also cryptid breeding programs, essentially in underground facilities, especially dogmen. And dogmen is like they're used as government sleeper cells. Like if they need to kill somebody or take someone out, they can have dogman do it, and their hands are wiped. Their hands are clean. If they were attacked by a cryptid, they were whatever. So that's what it seems like. I know it sounds wild, but there's actual real, like these whistleblowers, this is their matter of factly saying this stuff happens, and even giving locations. A lot of this, occurs underground in Colorado Springs, where there's like a huge military hub. I think there's 6 military bases there. And what he said was that the skinwalker phenomenon, it actually is, so there, when people want to learn this black magic, if you don't have an Illuminati, a royal bloodline, and you're trying to summon these entities, because that's ultimately what they're doing, they're summoning entities to work through them, and it gives them powers. Even musicians and celebrities do this before they go on stage, and if you look into, like, they'll be performing rituals because the entity that performs the show for them. But he said if you're not of the bloodline and you try to do this stuff, you sometimes can't get rid of the entity, and it takes over, and this is how people become possessed. And he literally is talking about them having access to other realms. They can traverse realms whenever they're doing this type of work and when playing with this magic, right? And tapping into these abilities, which allow us to, like, step into other realities. Well, these skinwalkers are he described them as people who have played with this magic, but they're not of the bloodline, and they can't get rid of whatever they have started to become, and they can't shift back to their human form. And he said they oftentimes, the reason, like Skinwalker Ranch, he goes, those are true, he called them high points, but it could be called a hot spot, or where the veil is thin. He said those are real places where they can cross through, and that's why they use them. It's like a paranormal highway, but you would be blown away at the information about cryptids by listening to some Illuminati guys. It'll blow your mind.
I wonder so if somebody's doing a paranormal investigation, government does not care about that. If you're talking about ghosts, they don't seem to care about it. But if you are in the field investigating Bigfoot, any cryptids at all, animal mutilations, like I've done, and UFOs, of course, the government is interested, and they make themselves very known. They'll fly over with helicopters, planes. I've been on cases with invisible planes flying right overhead that you can't see, but they're there.
Right.
Just craziness. Why is the government so interested in these things? And then after the fact, when the investigators there several days later, why are they on scene and flying close? Is that to warn people off? Is that to give a message? What is that? What are your thoughts on that, Linda?
Yeah, in the UFO research that I've done, it didn't take long when I started doing the abduction regressions before my phone was bugged. I mean, you could literally hear them on the other end of the phone.
Yeah.
People were calling me. They would leave a number. I'd call them back. They would swear they never called me. It would be a government office I would be calling. I mean, things like that. And then even long after that, my family was being called and hung up at the same time of day. 5:30 in the morning, it would start. My mother, my sister, my niece, myself, it would start at 5:30 in the morning, and we would get hang-up calls at exactly the same time throughout the entire day. We would get maybe 4 or 5 of those at the exact same time. It's like, it was almost like harassment. Then I started talking to some other UFO researchers, and they were experiencing exactly the same thing. So I do think, and then when I started doing the Bigfoot research with all of the interviews that I've done, I started hearing people talk about their phones being bugged and about helicopters flying over. And I thought, wow, this sounds familiar. Sounds a lot like the UFO research that I've heard about all of this kind of surveillance that's happening, and black car surveillance in some of the Bigfoot areas that I've researched. And there was one interview that I did that I know this man was talking to someone who was just in a hardware store. He was just filling in for his parents. this guy was actually a very educated man, and he was part of this kind of little small research group that they were really involved. And he wanted to talk to this man further about his Bigfoot encounters. Before they got together, this guy was staying with his parents that was running the hardware store because his parents had some illness that was going on in the family. So that's why he was there. Before it was said and done, this guy drove by that house. This guy was gone, and the police were there. Well, FBI probably was there taking all of these boxes and boxes of documents and files out of that house and loading them in a car. And this guy was never seen again. And he kept asking this local police officer that he knew really well, what happened to this guy, that was running the hardware store. And the guy said, well, I can't tell you. That's, top secret stuff. So I think they were getting a little too close to some information about Bigfoot. And these files had that information in it. And no one's ever seen this guy since. He's just gone. He's just disappeared. So, who knows what happened to him. But it gets really serious sometimes. If you get too close to that information, luckily I haven't. So, I've just been on the surface of the research. I haven't gotten down to those nitty gritties of information. But I also had a guy show up at my house once when early on in my hypnosis career. I was teaching hypnosis. And he explained how he was drawn into this family. And I don't think it was Illuminati. I think it was probably another secret organization. But he said he was taken, because he married into the family, he was taken to the top ranks really fast. And there they practice a real occult kind of behavior. And he was used as a person where they could project things to, and he would see things and hear things. Well, at this point in time, he had gotten a divorce and moved back into my neck of the woods, and he was taking this hypnosis class. He's a very bright guy. He was a stockbroker. He had lots of really intelligent questions because, when you're doing a hypnosis class and it's usually 10, 12 people, you have everything from a local waitress to a plumber to a stripper in the course, but usually it's not a stockbroker. Let's put it like that. So this guy had a little bit more intelligent questions, and he was a little more savvy about some of the ways of life in the world and such. And he had a lot of experience in life. So he starts telling me about them programming him. And now that he was kind of out of that marriage and out of that organization, they were still projecting stuff to him. He was seeing aliens in his house. He was seeing UFO craft in the sky. He was hearing prophetic things in his head. And he really believed they were still controlling him and controlling his visual stuff. And he kind of wanted it to stop. He was hoping to get some help. And, it kind of wasn't my expertise. I wasn't really into mind control at that time. I was pretty new in hypnosis even. But he really wanted some help with that. He left the class that day. We had about 6 more weeks left. I called his number and it was disconnected. Never saw him again. Just completely gone. I don't know if he told me too much or if he just decided he needed to skip out, or if he was there as a plant. Maybe he was trying to tell me this just so I would know it. I don't know for sure, but that was weird.
Right.
I'll say
Possibility.
Yeah. I think that first of all, everything you just said, Linda, that resonates. That's the way it works. And it actually gets even shadier than that sometimes. And there's a lot of gray area. It's not black and white. And there's a lot of political agendas behind a lot of stuff. There's politics and everything is what I'm trying to say. But it's absolutely, it's crazy what these families are involved in and how they're able to manipulate our reality. But Margie, as far as the government showing up when you're out on a cryptid investigation, it could be for a number of reasons, because you're getting close to their portals, which I believe they're very well aware of. A natural portal system and a man-made portal system is essentially weaponized. There's a reason national parks are where they are. Primarily it's because they're portal spots, portal locations, and they don't want people there at night for various reasons. But people go missing because they might step through one of these areas and they don't know how to get back. And we've interviewed people that have talked about this before at great length. And the national parks that you really should, you can spend your entire life just digging into those and you'll never be bored. But oftentimes though, they don't want you messing with their baby, right? So if there is a cryptid breeding program and one of these wild cryptids is something that they have intentionally released for whatever reason, or maybe it escaped, whatever, we can create whatever scenario we want. They don't want you getting too close to that. And obviously they want to know who's trying to keep tabs on them. So they're going to try and scare you away with their tactics. And sometimes he might be just like researching a very benevolent Sasquatch, not part of any of this programs and stuff. There's the book Sasquatch Message to Humanity. It's a channeled book, channeled series. And it's information from the Sasquatch and talking about how they very much are being tracked by the government as well. And any chance they get, the government will even try to capture them. And there's a Major Solomon Berg. He actually died whistleblowing. He came forward and talked about, he was a linguist and he was an animal communicator. He worked for the Army, and he was brought into a program where they needed him to try and basically communicate with a Sasquatch. And he spent a long time in a facility trying to learn how to communicate with the Sasquatch until they were eventually relocated underground beneath some missile silo somewhere. And they created an entire underground ecosystem for this thing to live so they can observe it. And they learned a lot about the Sasquatch through that. But so they have some of these captive, and he learned from them that they absolutely are tracking them. They're not just like coming after us, the elites, whoever they are. That's why we hear the black helicopters around, or when there's Bigfoot sightings, or maybe I just thought of this now. Maybe you're investigating an area and they're following you. They're like, oh, she knows where one's at, so they're going to go and try and get it first. Maybe. I don't know.
They always seem to show up when I am doing what I call a big case. It's a UFO landing or an animal mutilation or Sasquatch or Dogman sighting, and I'm on site, or I'm going to the site and they follow me there, or they're on the site waiting for us. It's crazy. I mean, anybody who gets into this as a serious investigator has experiences like this. It's not a one-off. It's constant. Everybody has the phones tapped and all of that. So maybe they want to know what we know. Maybe they want to be led to places where there are portals. Who knows? But I know we are past time for a break. So we are going to take a short break, and we'll be back right after this.
The Onyx Network presents a health and wellness spiritually based brand of hemp-derived CBD products made by Hopewell Farm in Harrogate, Tennessee. We apply our Cathara energy work with all of our plants and products. Our products made in small batches with only 2 ingredients of pure hemp, full-spectrum crude oil, and coconut-derived MCT oil. Third-party lab tested for potency and legal THC levels with 6 strengths of 1 ounce oil to choose from. Know what you're buying and get what you pay for from Hopewell Farm. Applied directly to a specific area, Hopewell Farm topical salve in 1 ounce and ½ ounce sizes, made with pure hemp crude oil, comfrey extract, and all natural ingredients. Find the Hopewell Farm link and coupon code on the Onyx Network website at onyxnetwork.com. That's onyxnetwork.com. We are a few weeks away from the 2024 XCon in Springfield, Missouri, and you still have time to get tickets and join us for 2 nights and 3 days of speakers, workshops, paranormal investigations, vendors, and dance the night away at the Mad Hatter's Ball and Banquet. Be sure to bring your favorite Halloween costume for the ball and enter to win the costume contest. Come celebrate our 3rd year birthday and engage with amazing presenters like Tyler Kiwala, Micah Hanks, Dan Terry, Michelle Roos, and so many more, including keynote speaker Scott Nelson on the Ron Moorhead Bigfoot recordings, October the 11th through the 13th at the beautifully haunted Oasis Hotel and Event Center in Springfield, Missouri. Go to onyxnetwork.com for tickets and details. That's onyxnetwork.com.
This is Margie K, and I'd like to say thank you to all of our KUNX show hosts, staff, listeners, and viewers for making us number one on Paranormal Talk Radio. So I just noticed that I dropped in a bunch of overlays and they are no longer here. So I'm not sure what happened to that. But what I'd like to do right now is talk about some really weird things that happened last year at XCon. And Tyler was there, of course. He witnessed this. Everybody there witnessed what was happening. So I'm just going to give a little synopsis, and then Tyler, if you could tell us what happened to you. My talk was on winged aliens, and as a part of that, Mothman. Some investigations I've done and experiences I've had with Mothman myself. And as I got to that part, my computer suddenly stopped working. It froze up. And I felt the presence of a Mothman on the stage with me, back and to the left several feet. Well, Michelle Roos was there, and she walked up to the stage and she says, "Do you know there's a Mothman behind you on your left side?" I said, "Yes, I do." And she brought her spray up. She brought this spray, which is, Tyler's got his. Yeah. Riverside, Iowa Paranormal, RIP. And she makes this special spray. So she sprayed it around me, and this, whatever it was, Mothman, kind of backed away. And then my computer came back on. So I finished the presentation, got off the stage. I felt it still with me. And Eric from Hopewell Farm came over with his CBD oil, and he put like 3 drops under my tongue. And then I decided I needed to talk to him. So I started walking across the room. And when I got halfway across the room, I felt that Mothman move from the left to the right and then off into the kitchen of the site. And it was gone. And I have not seen or heard from it since. And I think, first of all, the spray and the CBD are very, very high energy products. And that changes your energy and raises the vibration. So I think that Mothman couldn't be around that. The other thing is that people were seeing shadows on the ceilings, on the walls, and also actually apparitions of a child and an adult coming into the room from the back room. Now, and then one other strange thing happened to my brother. He was out in the hall and we were getting ready to leave. We were packing up. So he and Jim Koala were standing by the door, and my brother looked up and he saw a spear coming at him from down the hall. And he said it looked like from the time of Alexander, and he knows history, so I don't doubt it. And as it came towards him, he thought it was going to hit his eye. So he turned his head to the left, and it physically hit him underneath his eye and left a big red welt. And
I remember him. I remember him.
Yeah, and Jim was standing right there. Frank dropped some stuff.
I remember that.
And I turned around, I said, "What happened?" And he told me. I'm like, wow. And he had this huge red welt. Well, the next morning, I don't know if you guys know this. My brother and my husband and I each had a different vehicle because we were hauling all this stuff. So we needed to get gas. We stopped at a gas station. So this is the very next morning. My brother and I stopped at the pumps and got out and filled up our cars. And my husband pulled his truck off to the side. Here around the corner comes a man running with a spear, a full-blown large spear, and he was headed for the doors of the gas station. I said, my brother, it's time to go. So we stopped pumping gas and we got the heck out of there because I didn't know what was going to happen. But the coincidence is just too weird.
Margie, you picked up the phone, and Robin and I were driving back down south to Arkansas. You called me. when that happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you called me too, actually.
I
And
was like, what
I mean,
in
the
the
odds of
world?
somebody running around with a spear in the 21st century,
The odds of those two things coming together, like,
Yeah.
because that's one of those bizarre kind of stories with a bizarre object, a spear flying down the thing, and then all of a sudden you come across some random Joe with a big old spear
Right.
in like in the street. It just
And I'm sure that he was a real person. I don't think it was an apparition. I mean, he looked like a real person. That was crazy. That was crazy. But Tyler, why don't you share what happened to you, what you saw and witnessed?
Well, I mean, I witnessed the entire Mothman thing. I actually went on stage to try and like help you and fix your computer, and it
Oh, yeah.
was truly an anomaly in the
and you
sense
did, by the way, fix it. You did.
that however, whatever happened, but it was truly an anomaly, and it just came back on. But I'm trying to. There was a lot. I remember feeling a lot of energies. Everyone was seeing the shadow people. There was some very ominous stuff going on there, especially like outside of where the two buildings connect. There was something happening there, but personally, I don't. If something even happened to me, I don't remember. Are you?
I remember you telling me that you saw an apparition in your room, your hotel room.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that was. So I couldn't sleep for whatever reason. Wow. Like I was like mind wiped of that. I couldn't sleep for whatever reason in that hotel. And they say in hotels we only get like only 50% of our brain shuts down anyway because we're in like a foreign place, whatever. So you don't sleep well in hotels anyway. But I just like I was feeling stuff, and I was constantly like using her spray. I felt like there was something watching me all the time in my room. And I remember waking up, and I often do. I see the shadow people in the middle of the night, but there was one in the hotel, and I had the spray, I had some other stuff that I do, I was fine, but it was very apparent that place has paranormal activity. I mean, there's just no question about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely does. I hope we didn't scare you off, Linda.
No.
You're still going to come and speak for us, aren't you?
Down there where I was in front of the stage to the right, when you're looking at the stage left from facing the stage out, there were several times, because I'm, where I'm at, I can see across through backstage, right? From over at the side. And I'm looking out at everybody, and I kept seeing out of the side of my eye, I kept seeing something dark going across, because we had they had those awesome green LED lights going up on the curtains and everything. And I kept seeing something moving from over here across to my right. And it was more than twice. It was several times, 4 or 5 times throughout the whole weekend. Yeah. And I kept looking. And then like after the 3rd time, I just quit looking. I just quit turning my head to look over there. And there's nobody back there, because they're just, I could throw a rock and hit them. Anytime anyone walked on that stage, I could hear it. I can hear your feet when people are talking on stage, when you were on the stage. I can hear every foot step down on that stage, because the stage is about head height with me, and I'm right there by it. And you can hear it, you can hear that there was nobody moving back there. The curtain wasn't blowing there, but whatever was making that moving motion would have made that curtain flow as it passed in behind it. And I didn't say a thing about it. I didn't say, you know what I mean? Like, because I wasn't trying to gin up anything else. And then when we're going home, Margie tells me about this spear thing with Frankie. And I was like, and I saw the red on his face. I saw where he said it hit him. And for you to see a guy with a spear out there in the street, like I just
I wish I had thought to pull my of course my phone is in the car. I would have had to grab it, but then I was also worried about what is he going to do to somebody in the gas station? Is he going to go kill somebody? I don't want to be here. I want to get the heck out. So I don't know what happened there. It was bizarre. And I'll tell you what, I did not know the hotel was haunted. I've been at several conferences there for our fire investigation company. Nothing ever happened there. Nothing. And then it's like this big bonus. Yeah, we're having a paranormal conference at a haunted hotel.
And it's such a beautiful place. You think haunted hotel, you're thinking some old crickety rickety, something, Bates or something, motel.
Right. No, it's not that.
This place is beautiful. Like beautiful.
Beautiful hotel, yeah.
Everywhere you look, it is aesthetically pleasing in this place. And then so to think, but you know what? We all know, that the earth, the woods, and it's right by some woods. You know what I mean? Like in the back there. But like the earth, it has its secrets, and that's why we're here, to try to figure it all out. And anywhere can be haunted. It doesn't even have to have a structure around it. Woods can be haunted. Fields can be haunted.
Mm-hmm. Margie, I was thinking about you mentioned at our conference how you were having your experiences with the Sasquatch, and I believe it was you that they told like our event was the only event that they would come out for and like actually like interact with people. I wonder if that's the case at the Oasis, where maybe you had your fire investigation conferences, but they're not interested, but then they know we're all there talking about this stuff, and when you're talking about it, you're attracting them in a sense, like you're giving the energy. So they're coming in to check it out, and they want to know what's going on. Finally, somebody who believes in them, right, and can see them. So I think maybe that's the case.
I think you're 100% right on that. What are your thoughts on that, Linda, with a conference like this? Do you think people thinking about a subject brings it in?
Yeah, I think, whatever frequency you're emitting, that's kind of what you're going to draw in. So I think Bigfoot definitely, when we made the film Byways of Bigfoot out just north of Springfield along the Niagara River, I really, honestly, I didn't think we would probably find any evidence out there, because we were just newly filming this, and there was some vocals heard, and that was all we had, other than a few reports over the years. And it's about a 200-mile river, so the report said we're not right where we were filming. We only went out about 3 times to film along that river, and every single time there was evidence. It was almost like it was just right there for us. We would go out and film an hour, just, and we would just be drawn right to the footprint, and a weird tree break or something, that would be confirmation of one another. It was just strange. I think there's a definite correlation of interaction between our thoughts and our intentions and our mindsets, and then what happens to us in the physical world. I've had too many synchronicities. And as you were talking about that man with the spear, I'm thinking, oh, that's like something would happen to me. You're thinking about it, or you're talking about it, then you run into it. That's just so common.
It's kind of like a premonition of what's to come, what happened to Frank, and then, it's really going to happen.
Like Margie, you're going to attract a shadow woman in your room by using that background. You're attracting.
Oh yeah, one of these attractive ladies. Yeah. Well, I thought it was appropriate for tonight. So we are going to have a ghost hunt at XCon this year for the first time, and for obvious reasons. And Friday is kind of our mostly paranormal day, and then that evening we're doing workshops, and then the ghost hunt. So people are invited to bring their own equipment if you would like to, because I am positive we are going to get some evidence. And I'm going to be filming this, of course, too. And everybody else is welcome to film as well. But that's going to be a big deal. And then the next day, of course, we have a full day of speakers until 3 o'clock, and then we're going to take a break. We're going to take a nap break so we can change the room over for the party. And we'll have a banquet for the people who got the banquet, and then Mad Hatter costume party. So last year, people came in some really fantastic costumes, and I had them loaded up here on the overlay, and then it disappeared. So there's a ghost in the machine race. But yeah, really good costumes last year. We should be seeing a few good ones this year too. And hopefully everybody will come in costume. It's going to be just a lot of fun, but a lot of serious stuff, really great speakers. And we kind of maybe, I will admit this, I think I overdid it on the number of speakers. So next year is going to be less speakers, and they will each have more time.
Margie, I found your overlays. You put them under "See You in the Dark."
Did I really? How?
Yeah, you just uploaded them on a different channel.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, so here is the Oasis Hotel. Of course, a nighttime
Beautiful
shot. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Here's one of the rooms so you can see. Super nice. I mean, just beautiful. And they've got this nice courtyard in the middle of the hotel, and they also serve breakfast there. And they're, the breakfast is nice. Hot food, actually.
Oh yeah, that courtyard inside was nice.
Yeah, that actually looked like that was like one of the exact rooms I had. They like butted up to the courtyard, and it was awesome because I had like those tropical plants out there, and I was it was really cool.
And they're real.
We had real trees.
Yeah,
palm trees and stuff. Yeah,
but we were right there where you could come out and go down to that courtyard, and we had a patio outside of our room that was right out from the venue, but it was real nice in the trees and everything. You go out there, smoke, do your thing, and then head down to the venue. It was really a wonderful place. And the bed, I have trouble with beds in hotels. Those were great.
Yeah, they are. They're comfortable. I don't have to bring my pad with me to this place. Okay, so we just have a few more minutes left. We've got a great lineup of speakers. Our keynote, as we mentioned earlier, is Scott Nelson, and he is going to be talking about the Ron Moorhead tapes and the cryptid language, the Sasquatch language that he has discovered. It is fascinating. And then, of course, Peter Robbins. Peter has a show on our network, and he is always fantastic. Micah Hanks has a show on our network. He has two shows. He has Sasquatch Tracks and the Micah Hanks Show. He is speaking. Michelle Roos has a show. She's doing two things. Dan Terry's doing two things. He also has a show on our network. Debbie Ziegelmeyer, oh boy, she has a great presentation for us on underwater bases.
I can't wait to see her. It's been so long.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Tyler and Martha Decker. She's going to be doing a class on how to interview like a detective. So this is really for investigators, paranormal and UFO investigators. Should be great. Bill and Jackie Kuselos, they're talking about the Point Pleasant Mothman. Mindy Toutfest, dying to meet them. I am going to be doing a talk with my assistant, Violet Wisdom. We have just written a book called How to Research Your Haunted House. And so that is going to be done by us. Of course, Linda will be there. Gene Walker will be there. And Adrian and Tina Scalf. We have got the gamut of paranormal, cryptids, and UFOs. If you're interested in all things unexplained, this is the conference to come to. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it, and looking forward to both of your talks.
Likewise, I can't wait.
Sure.
Yeah. It's gonna be
And
That's
thank you for.
That's what I super love about this conference, Margie, and hats off to you, because this is not a circuit conference. This is not where you're going to see the same faces that you always see everywhere at all of these major conferences. I am so burnt out on all of that, and I love hearing fresh, new information, brought to the people. so that critical thinkers can think of this stuff and research this stuff and sleuth this stuff out. You know, you just need a spark to get you going and send you in the right direction. And
Right.
you have put together such a fresh lineup of faces and talented people, very qualified people. And you know, last year I was so impressed, and this year it's even better. I didn't know that you could do it. You did it though. Congratulations.
And let me just say for the listeners, Margie knows how to throw a party. I mean, and by party I mean the entire event. There was nothing you didn't think of, and it was very polished, and it looked great. I mean, everything was amazing. You can tell. That's why I tell people to go, because you put your heart into it. There's intention behind every little thing you do. You pay attention to the small details, but that energy is contagious, and we feel that. So when you're there, you can feel the heart and soul that you poured into it, and you're not just phoning it in, throwing an event, you know, like the money grab events and stuff. This is like a passion, and you can feel it, and you've done amazing with it, and I'll keep coming.
Well, thank you so much, Tyler. I appreciate that. And that is coming from someone who knows about conferences. So you know what it takes to put one together. And your Journey to Truth conference is fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
So, all right, folks. Thank you for joining me tonight, Race.
It's been a pleasure, Margie. It always is. You did all the work. I just got to sit back and watch you throw it at hand.
Yeah.
But
all right.
Just you know, you still got time to get tickets. We still got tickets available, and you know, I was going to say we were talking about the costume contest. I know we're up against it, but we were represented by the Hatters all the way to Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. When you know, I was DJing some music, not really DJing, but I was playing music for everybody, or trying to, and you know, seeing Star Wars characters on the dance floor was epic. It was and
it
little
was.
OP for
it was.
you know, it was a great environment. So everybody, even if you can't make the whole weekend, you know, try to make the banquet and costume contest. You know, it's a lot of fun. Everybody really seemed to enjoy it.
Yep, we don't have any more banquet tickets available, but the party and the costume contest is open with a cash bar. And by the way, Race is the best DJ on the planet, as well as the best MC. So, all right, folks, tonight we are done for this evening, and we'll see you next Friday live from XCon at 6 p.m. Friday.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.